WIZZFX.
You finally made it. It's the final episode, episode 10 of Before the DAW, and I want to talk about a huge bugbear of mine, taking time. Taking time can be thought of in two ways. Someone stealing the time from you, and also someone who uses their time well to explore and try and learn new techniques. And you can sort of already guess that people stealing your time stops you from using your time to improve your work. So I thought we could touch on that a little bit. So one of the most annoying things about working at a radio station is you're often working with a lot of people that don't understand how long it takes to make good production, whether it's imaging or promos or whatever, that it takes longer than 5 minutes. It's not just throw a few things on a screen and it's done. I mean, sure, you can do that, but if you have more time, it's better. And if you have even more time than usual, it's even better. You can really invest your time to increase the quality of what you're making. And this is very similar to a video that I've seen virally a few years back and still does the rounds now. And it's by a guy called Mo Salim Art on YouTube. And he's drawing Spider-Man, and he draws Spider-Man in 1 minute. In 10 seconds, draws them in a minute, and draws them in 10 minutes. And it's one of those things, isn't it? Like, if you make a sweeper in 10 seconds, it's not going to be that great. If you make a sweeper in 1 minute, it'll be a little better than the 10 seconds. But if you made it in 10 minutes, it'll be better than the 1 minute. Now, those timescales aren't particularly accurate. I kind of feel like sometimes you get 10 minutes to make a sweeper, sometimes you get an hour to make a sweeper, but what if you had a day to make a sweeper? Now, it's not possible for everything. But you get my drift, right? The more time that you can invest, the better the quality. So let's just roll this art video if you haven't seen it. And then just think about applying the same scheme to requests for imaging production. And you'll absolutely agree with me that if you have more time, you can do a better job. So there you go. The amount of time you spend on something is going to be directly linked to the quality and the outcome. And what is it about being an imaging producer that means you have to do quick favors for everyone and fix everyone's little wee audio mistakes? Oh, the imaging guy will sort it out. You know, there's a little click in my interview, there's a little this here, and there's a little that there. And so as you're trying to concentrate on making whatever you're making, you've just got constant requests and interruptions and random little things. Try to create a system for yourself where you're protected. So either that's going to be getting your boss to leave you alone within certain windows. Perhaps you have an email out of office that you can turn on that says, I will pick up any random requests between these hours every day. Start to educate the people around you so you don't have these random interruptions. Tell them that they can't just barge on in when you're trying to make stuff. It's not going to be conducive to you spending your time on making things with constant interruptions, because as you keep getting interrupted, your flow is stopped. And then it can take you a few minutes to some people can take a few minutes. Some people it can take 10 minutes to kind of get back. Where was I at? What was I doing? And get back into the flow. So try to minimize and cut out those distractions by educating the people around you, or creating specific time periods every day where you deal with the random requests. I don't know, random request hour perhaps at the end of your day where you fix an interview, you tweak another random problem for a sales exec, whatever it might be. Let's remember that imaging producers are the end of the chain. So all of the meetings have occurred about an activity that's going to happen. Are we going to do it? Are we not? I don't know. We'll figure it out. But let's just see how far we can get in the planning stages before we decide whether we're going to do it. And then long before you know it, all of these meetings have happened. The imaging producer hasn't known, and they find out at 4 o'clock on a Friday afternoon when you've finally made the decision that we are going to run that promo over the weekend, or we are going to do that activity which needs sweepers and production over the weekend. So try to involve your imaging producer, even if it's just a courtesy email on earlier in the week to say this is coming, so that they can plan their weeks out and understand what's about to drop, what may or may not happen. Because if it doesn't happen, cool, the imaging producer has a bit more time for something else. If it does happen, they already knew about it, it doesn't become a big issue, and the time has already been allotted to build something, or they may have been able to prep to build something so it doesn't become a huge task that steals half of a Friday evening from someone. Because producers are people too, they need their rest, they need to be able to apply themselves creatively, and having these kind of last minute drop-ons, which is inevitable, I absolutely concede that within the radio industry. We are a much more immediate industry and medium, but you can still give people heads up and help plan for these events and these situations so that your producers are happy to tackle them and aren't pissed off because I had plans tonight, now I've got to cancel them because I've got to do these sweepers. So remember, producers are people too, and involve them in discussions early so they're able to prepare. And this one's a little contentious, but a producer that's not busy is a producer that has time to learn. And obviously learning new tricks means that your work improves, the station sounds better, all of that kind of stuff. Now, I agree, some people procrastinate a lot and need to be pushed to learn, and that's obviously something you need to kind of watch in that scenario. But definitely, if you have a producer that's your imaging producer isn't particularly busy, encourage them to do some research, or get them to try some new things out, and maybe that could be finding work you like, or linking them up with a producer, or they themselves, or if I'm speaking to I myself, I'll reach out to someone whose work I like and just chat briefly about what they're doing so that I can try it in the next thing I'm doing. Or I might watch a few YouTube videos. So using your time to learn if you don't have a lot on, like you thought that promo was going to drop last minute on Friday afternoon, and then in the end, because you were across all of the meetings, or your boss was keeping you up to date, or you were keeping the imaging producer up to date if you are the boss, and they know, oh, suddenly this promo isn't happening last minute on Friday, so I've got an hour, might watch some YouTube videos and get a few ideas for next week's production run. That's a good use of time. That's taking time and applying it well to learn new skills. So it's definitely something that should be done. And kind of on that sort of theme, I find a lot of producers, imaging producers that I speak to, seem to have a crazy amount of administrative tasks. Scheduling the imaging, making sure it's all placed in the right place, ticking certain boxes, building carts, all of that kind of stuff. To make sure that it airs correctly. And I 100% understand why they have to do it. But I think if you've got someone who you're trying to level up in terms of production, you're trying to improve what you're doing yourself personally, then perhaps having some sort of intern or assistant or a really close dialogue with someone on the programming side, whether that's the program director or the music director, and creating some systems to help with scheduling the imaging, to help with loading audio. Perhaps the imaging producer is going to load the audio, but the carts are made by the programming guys. That could be a solution. Perhaps there are a series of carts set up and planned into the music logs to rotate in specific ways so that the imaging producer, when he wants to refresh IDs, just needs to overwrite the old set with new stuff, for example. So little things like that, just to kind of speed up workflow rather than constantly inventing new carts and having the imaging producer schedule them, because 2 or 3 hours can be lost to all of the administrative tasks that could have been used applying to creating the new sound or improving the situational, doing some of the things we've talked about in this series, researching the listeners and figuring out their journey and applying that to the scripts and, working closely to make sure the right voiceovers are being used in the right ways, all of that kind of stuff, which would be a better use of the imaging producer's time in my book, because once you get a few rules in place and systems set up for the scheduling of imaging and management of imaging carts, for example, then they get a load of time back to deploy elsewhere. So I definitely think that that's something that could be revisited. I mean, some administrative tasks can even just be boring stuff that you've got your imaging producer doing, like ROTs, pulling on-air content to make sure that clients have had certain messaging delivered at certain times across a week. I mean, is that the best use of someone's time who is looking to be very experienced and senior and creative boffin behind the sound of the station? I kind of hazard a guess that no, that probably isn't. So look at whether you can make the administrative tasks less of a burden for yourself, or if you're the program director, on your imaging producer. And there you have it. That's the end of Before the DAW. This was episode 10. I hope you've enjoyed the series and this episode, of course. If you have any thoughts, comments, questions, feedback, please get in touch. info@WIZZFX.com, or you can head over to the website WIZZFX.com and you can use the contact form there. Otherwise, reach out on any of the socials. We're all over the place. Thanks again for watching this episode and the entire series. I'll see you again soon.
Custom imaging, sound design, music, WIZZFX.